Have y'all ever noticed that the concept of underrated versus overrated is a very thin line? What I mean by the line is very thin is the same people who will call something underrated will oftentimes call the same thing overrated if too many people end up enjoying it. Which you cannot have it both ways. If you want to see a band or project that you enjoy get more popular and have more people get into them, you should like it when that happens. And what does underrated mean? Is it people don't notice their influence and legacy for older bands? Is it they just don't have enough monthly listeners? Where is that line drawn? What metrics are you using? What are you comparing it to? What is the arbitrary number? Because I'm genuinely curious. It is going to massively vary based on the genre. Other genres are going to have plateaus. But if you're someone that simultaneously holds the opinion that one thing can be overrated and another thing can be underrated, where is the line drawn in terms of when something underrated becomes overrated? Too many people listening to it? Well, no, because most of the time, overrated just boils down to, I don't like the type of music this person or this band is making, and therefore they are overrated because a lot of people enjoy them. You're never going to hear someone with 3,000 monthly listeners being called overrated. And most of the time, if you look into the reasons that people call something overrated, it's always just their personal preference. Pretty much the only concrete reason that I can see and somewhat understand is simply feeling like something gets overhyped for the actual quality. Which even then, that's a personal preference too. And what I'm getting at is art, specifically music, is always a subjective debate. I've said many times before on this channel that I don't really like Sleep Token that much. I don't necessarily think they're metal half the time. I think they take a lot of basic influences, and I think that they're very dime a dozen, generally speaking, and they just package a lot of things together to sound interesting. But do I think they're overrated? No. Not at all. A lot of people really enjoy them and get something out of them, both in the metal community and outside of the metal community. And who is anyone to claim something is overrated just because they don't like it? God knows there are plenty of artists and bands out there, both in the metal and rock community and outside of it, that I do not like whatsoever. But even when I talk about a band or an artist that I kind of beef with, TX2 being a great example of that, I always say, if you get something out of them, awesome. Your own personal journey with any given artist or band is in no way going to be influenced and should not be influenced by the number that they have. And for me, when I consider something underrated or overrated, my philosophy is very simple. Number one, either an older band does not get their legacy roses as much as they should, and they left some sort of imprint on the scene. They deserve a lot more hype and acclaim than they ended up getting or contemporarily get, and other bands got the credit for the things that they laid the framework for. Or alternatively, secondly, a band is just very much worthy of a lot more attention because they make very high quality stuff. Now, obviously, that is very subjective. It's going to be my own personal taste. And also just listening to heaps and heaps of music constantly and trying to give good recommendations for people out there. And as for overrated, it doesn't matter what I think about something, and that has no bearing on whether I think it's overrated or not. If I think a specific artist, band, album, or song is overrated, it's going to boil down to, do they deserve the hype for what they are getting? And yeah, that's going to take my own opinions and metrics into account, but more often than not, what I try to examine and base my opinion on when it comes to that is looking at whatever scene it is a part of, looking at the band, and comparing it to other contemporary artists or even older artists that were doing or are doing the same thing, and whether or not I think they are rightfully deserving of whatever they're getting. Now, with that being said, I don't think rightfully deserving is a great way to look at it. The music industry, specifically the metal and rock community, is insanely hard to grow in. If a band blows up for whatever reason, whether it's just happenstance, whether they luck into it, whether they got signed to a label, whether they have great marketing, they deserve that shit. Case closed. That's my opinion on it. They clearly deserve that position because they have a very dedicated fan base that loves the stuff that they are producing. But I just think assigning over and underrated can be kind of silly sometimes because you cannot define a band that way. Some bands have hundreds of thousands, millions of listeners, many of which don't even know the words to 3 of their songs because they heard it in a playlist or they went to a concert where they didn't know any of the songs. Maybe they heard something in a Twitch stream or a YouTube video or a show or a movie. Meanwhile, on the very opposite side of that coin, there are bands with 4,000 or 5,000 monthly listeners that may never go past that, with sharp, diehard, dedicated fan bases that know everything they've ever done. And at the end of the day, I think a lesson a lot of people could learn is both of those bands are valid. Both of those bands have their value, and one isn't better than the other, not based on numbers, not based on quality. And if you think one of the two are better quality-wise, that is your own opinion on it. And that is a very beautiful opinion to have, because your connection to the music is what breathes life into this art form. But that is just some food for thought by me. You can let me know down in the comment section below your opinions on this topic. Agree or disagree, there is no wrong answer. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the V family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Shane Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.